people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. Former WBC super middleweight champion David Benavidez expresses frustration in not being able to land a marquee fight.
Given the side of the street that he's on, this shouldn't be a problem for David.
The PBC has fighters at 160, has fighters at 168. The two-time former champion was quoted as saying, I feel like if Canelo's not going to fight me anymore, then what is going on? Because I have the WBC interim belt, Benavidez questioned. There's rankings for a reason, so I don't know who's going to have to figure that out. Canelo is going to figure that out, or the WBC is going to have to figure that out. But I've earned my spot repeatedly. I've won 2 title eliminators. I won an interim belt. It's not my fucking fault these guys don't want to fight me. I'm trying to make the fight with Caleb Plant. I'm trying to make the fucking fight with fucking Morrell, with Charlo. I thought we were going to make the fight with Morrell in November, December. Now they're saying he has to take a mandatory, which is fucking bullshit, because if they wanted to fight me, PBC would have made the fight right there. I feel like everybody wins right there.
David Morrell is in possession of a WBA regular title,
Which is tantamount to David's WBC interim title.
Why fight to defend the WBA regular title against the guy that nobody knows when you can get the fight with David?
And if you fight David and you beat David, you will have fought in a bigger fight than the fight you're about to fight in. It will be a signature fight, a signature victory, and you'll still be in a position to challenge for a full title at some point.
Whether you got the WBA regular or the WBC interim, it's all the same thing.
There's only one champion in possession of all the belts at 168 pounds. That's Canelo Alvarez. So whether you're on the WBA route or the WBC route, it still leads you to the same guy. But at least this way, you get to have that signature fight that you claimed you always wanted. I haven't forgotten that David Morrell spent a lot of time calling David Benavidez out. Now look what he's doing. Fighting a mandatory.
What the fuck for? Just fight David.
It's a great fight. I'm not saying anything bad about Morrell. He's a great fighter. But I feel like I'm the superior fighter, and Charlo, everybody knows what's fucking going on with Charlo. It's just a little frustrating because I feel like I get blamed a lot because they feel like I'm the one not making the fights happen, but I'm 100% trying to make every fight happen. If it's not Canelo not giving me an opportunity, if it's not Charlo not giving me an opportunity, or Caleb Plant, it's just frustrating. I've been a professional now for 10 years. I want a fucking big fight. I want a tough fight where everything is evened out. It's 50-50 because I've worked with world champions since I was a little kid. I sparred world champions my whole life, and I know what type of fighter gets brought out of me when the competition is either the same
level as me,
or the talent is higher than me. The best of me comes out. That's why I'm not scared of no man. I'll accept any challenge.
So do you really believe that David Benavidez wants these big fights?
I actually do. And I feel that David Benavidez is a young fighter whose career has long been mismanaged, and it's still being mismanaged here today.
Mismanaged by his team and the PBC.
I feel like the company, PBC, we're making each other look fucking stupid because nobody's fighting each other and everybody wants to take fucking tune-up fights, this and that. Caleb Plant is talking all that shit, saying they're calling me out, but they already knew I had a fight signed with Anthony Durrell. That's fucking bullshit. When I fought May 21st, he did not have no fight lined up. I told him I wanted to fight him. We could have made that fight happen. So what is he saying? Oh, he only calls me out when I have a fight lined up. It's fucking bullshit, bro.
Those of you that have been following this channel for a while will have heard me say this before.
I actually believe that David, unlike some other PBC fighters, I actually believe David wants a big fight, a signature fight, and a challenging fight. That's the kind of air you see around that kid. And I believe that he is genuinely frustrated with his situation, even if his management and his promoter are not.
What you're hearing from David sounds somewhat different than what you're hearing from his father.
The fans deserve it, bro. The fans deserve it. I feel like the company, we're just making each other look fucking stupid because nobody's fighting each other. And everybody fucking wants to take a tune-up, this and that.
Whoa, when you say 3-fight deal, were you only negotiating that 3-fight deal in-house, or did you flirt the possibility of a 3-fight deal with DAZN and Eddie Hearn?
No.
Okay.
A 3-fight deal with PBC. I want to thank Al Heyman. You know, he's done a great job.
As soon as I say the opposite of PBC, he's like, I want to thank Al Heyman. Let me get that on the record.
And that's good. You know, I don't want to confuse people. You know, we love PBC. You know, they done a great job, especially Al Heyman. You know, with David, Sansom. You know, it's a family. You know, they've done a tremendous job with them, and I see myself ending David's career with PBC. We're super happy. I couldn't be happier, you know.
Well, I'm just glad you clarified.
Yeah, when I said a 3-fight deal, you know, we were trying to think and kind of sign those fights.
It sounds like David Benavidez very recently had the option of leaving the PBC to perhaps go somewhere else. Nestor Gibbs of the Boxing Voice very recently spoke to David's father, Jose Benavidez Sr., and that seems to be the conversation that they had. And,
you know, I don't actually think DAZN and Matchroom would have been the right fit for David.
because Nestor Gibbs brought them up, you know, just as a suggestion, but I don't think that would have been the right fit or perhaps the best fit for David at this point in his career. I actually think the best fit for David would have been going over to Top Rank and ESPN.
You know, if he were to go to a Matchroom or a Golden Boy, they might have 1 or 2 options for a David Benavidez. It's not that they wouldn't.
It's not that they have nothing to offer. They've got something over there. You know, Dimitri Bivol with Matchroom, Zurdo Ramirez is with Golden Boy. They got 1 or 2 good hitters over there. A couple of other light heavyweights they're grooming, all that jazz. But I actually think the best fit and the best place for David to have gone would have been Top Rank, because 3 of the 4 alphabet titles, they are on that side of the street.
3 of the 4 alphabet titles at light heavyweight. Emphasis on light heavyweight.
My honest opinion is there really isn't much reason for David Benavidez to still be hanging around in the super middleweight division anymore if Al Heyman can't seem to get him a fight at that weight, a signature fight. And it's not because Al Heyman doesn't have super middleweights. He has super middleweights.
He's got middleweights, he's got super middleweights, but he still can't get David Benavidez a signature fight.
You know what's going on? There's a lot of coddling going on over there at the PBC, and David Benavidez is suffering for it. This wouldn't go on at Top Rank.
At Top Rank, you've got to earn your position, earn your seat, and earn your keep.
No babysitting over there. It's not a fucking nursery school.
Nobody gonna spoon feed you applesauce over there.
David's already held the WBC title 2 times in the super middleweight division. He's been there for a long time. And they seem to be keeping him there because they're holding out hope to ride Canelo Alvarez's wave, who they don't have under contract and who seems to do whatever he wants, which really isn't good for David because it's not like they're keeping him busy.
They're not getting him any other big fights or signature fights.
The Plant fight should have happened at least 2 years ago. The Charlo fight, we've been hearing about that fight for 2 years, and we're no closer to it now than we were 2 years ago.
The Morrell fight should have been an easy fight to make, but the Morrell people decided to go in another direction.
And this guy's still squeezing down to 168 pounds when by all rights, he should be campaigning as a light heavyweight.
You know, we love PBC. You know, they've done a great job, especially Al Heyman, you know, with David, Sansom. You know, it's a family, you know. They've done a tremendous job with them, and I see myself ending David's career with PBC. We're super happy. I couldn't be happier.
If you let David Benavidez's dad tell it, he couldn't be happier with the situation over there at the PBC, even though his son, the fighter, the one who's doing the actual fighting, he seems discontent. He's not getting what he wants, and there seems to be very little solutions in sight.
Very little in terms of solutions.
He's young. He's 26 years old, and he still has time on his side in a way that some fighters don't. I mean, that bit of it is true, but how much of that time is being squandered? Is he even going to fight again this year? And if he does fight, against who?
Who's he going to fight? Likely won't be a big fight or a signature fight, which he's long overdue for.
David Benavidez has some ingredients that make for a fan-friendly fighter and a potential superstar, but they're not capitalizing on those ingredients because of how they're navigating his career. By the age that David is now, by that same age, Canelo Alvarez had already fought Floyd Mayweather, Austin Trout, Erislandy Lara, and Miguel Cotto.
Well, David Benavidez has done this year is fight David Lemieux.
And it's sounding more and more like we'll be lucky to see this guy for a second time later on this year, and if we do, it'll likely be another can he's kicking down the road. Why does it seem like David is frustrated, but his father isn't? Why does it seem like David is frustrated, but his promoter, Samson Lukowicz, he's not frustrated? They're content with the situation. Well, here's what I think, and you can feel free to disagree. I've long maintained a suspicion that Al Heyman provides the manager, those members of the team, financial incentives to ensure that the fighter doesn't stray far, even if there are better opportunities for that fighter somewhere else.
Did you hear what Jose Benavidez Sr. said? He says he wants David to finish his career at the PBC.
Whilst they were broaching the subject of the 3-fight deal they just negotiated, what Jose's talking about sounds a lot like a lifelong contract.
Let me tell you something. Fighters themselves that have autonomy, they change their decorum all the time. Liam Smith went from Matchroom over to Boxer and Sky.
Where in turn, Chris Eubank Jr. went from Boxer and Sky over to Matchroom.
Joseph Parker went from Matchroom and DAZN over to Boxer and Sky, even though his next fight is on Queensberry and BT.
And this is the way it's supposed to be. No one promoter has all the fighters. No one promoter, no one platform, no one network has all the answers. Thus, a fighter that actually has autonomy benefits most when he's free to move around. You know, maybe they got some money for you at Matchroom for one fight, got some other money over there at Queensberry and BT for another fight. I mean, in the case of David Benavidez, what you have to consider is he's still campaigning as a super middleweight, and Al Heyman has several middleweights and super middleweights, but those fights aren't being made for David. Those fights, they're not happening. And how much longer will David keep squeezing down to super middleweight? At some point, he's gonna have to go up to light heavyweight, and at light heavyweight, Al Heyman ain't got nobody for him to fight, which is likely why he hasn't moved up yet.
His dad just signed a 3-fight deal with the PBC?
What the fuck are you doing?
You know, 3 fights at the PBC ain't like 3 fights at Top Rank or 3 fights at Matchroom. 3 fights at the PBC could be upwards of 1.5 to 2 years.
What the fuck are you doing?
What the hell are you doing? You're gonna keep this kid at super middleweight? You're gonna have to, because they don't have any options for him at 175 pounds. You sign a 3-fight deal now for David to stay on the PBC side of things. What's he gonna do? Stay at 168 for the next 3 fights?
What the fuck are you doing?
You're his fucking father. You see that those guys on his own side of the street don't seem to be in any kind of hurry to fight him, and what you do is you sign him up to stay there? To do what and fight who? There's only one way I can reconcile this in my own mind, and it's that both Jose Benavidez Sr. and Samson Lukowicz are receiving cash incentives to keep David on that side of the street, even if he doesn't have much going on that side of the street.
And what makes that unethical is the manager ideally is supposed to act in the best interests of the fighter, not necessarily themselves, and certainly not in the best interests of Al Heyman and his network affiliates.
It's the fighter's best interests that his manager is supposed to have in mind. And if it's in the fighter's best interests to perhaps move up in weight and go somewhere else and try something new.
Just saying, I think Al Heyman's giving these guys kickbacks to keep their fighters on his side of the street so they can be content for his broadcast partners, even if it's not necessarily in their best interests to do that.
Not the fighter's best interests anyway. It is what it is. And finally, in men's lightweight news, reigning undisputed lightweight champion Devin Haney said this about Gervonta Davis: "I don't think Tank wants to fight me, or really anybody else. If you look at his record, he's pretty much fought nobody. How old is he, 27? My resume is better than his. And I'm undisputed champion. I don't feel like he really wants to fight anybody."
He doesn't.
The moral of the story with Gervonta Davis, in so many words, is this: his team and his handlers and he himself feel that he's bigger and better than everybody else in the division, and he doesn't need anybody, any particular fight, any particular fighter. He doesn't need anybody's belts. All those belts Devin has, Gervonta Davis and Leonard Ellerbe, they couldn't care less. They're not going to do what they need to do to secure a fight like that.
Because they feel they don't need it. They're happy with the money they're making all on their own.
Whether you agree with them or not, that's the stance they've taken, and that's how they feel. That's likely why Floyd Mayweather said that Devin Haney should fight Shakur Stevenson, and the both of them should just leave Gervonta Davis alone. Those were his own words. So if you're Devin, and you know that they're not going to do what they have to do to get you in the ring.
Fiscally.
You know that they're not going to pay you what you want to get paid for a fight like that. Devin Haney's been making very good money for a very long time now. Made very good money at Matchroom. He's set to make...
And now he's making good money at Top Rank.
Before you get into the same old song and dance about how Gervonta hasn't fought anybody and cross-comparing resumes between Devin and Gervonta, save yourself some time, save yourself some trouble. It's simple. They don't want to pay Devin the way he wants to get paid. And if they're not going to pay him the way he wants to get paid, there's no point in spending any more time on it. Granted, that a fight between Devin and Gervonta could do decent numbers at the box office. It very well could. But the Davis people don't want to do what they have to do, so why waste any more time on it?
Devin's an undisputed champion. He's not about to fight on the cheap. You can't pay him what you pay an Isaac Cruz or a Rolly Romero.
And Isaac Cruz and Rolly Romero, these fighters did not make the money boxing Gervonta that Devin Haney just made boxing George Kambosos, that Devin Haney made boxing Jojo Diaz and Jorge Linares. He's making very good money on his own. And if Gervonta Davis doesn't want to pay to play, hey, it's not like he has a belt you need anyway. You've got all the belts.
So fuck the little butterball.
Devin Haney continued, that's definitely a fight that I would love. I've been calling for Lomachenko for years. It's very much a fight I'd entertain after this George Kambosos Jr. rematch. Loma is a guy that is on my hit list for sure. And that's what I want to hear from Devin, because with Vasyl Lomachenko, not only could he continue to make good money, very good money, but he might make his U.S. debut on pay-per-view, as that's a box office fight. Lomachenko versus Haney is pay-per-view worthy.
That's saying that if the people at Top Rank wanted to put that on pay-per-view, I'd buy it.
I would. Long before I'd spend 1 red cent on Gervonta Davis's fights to watch him play it safe against guys he's supposed to beat.
If he found himself a cult audience of bozos and morons who are happy with that kind of matchmaking, more power to him.
I don't buy his fights anyway. The bottom line here is, and the moral to this story, is that young fighters like Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson, they shouldn't waste their time worrying about Gervonta Davis and whether or not he wants a fight with them.
Because he's not willing to pay to play. He's not going to pay you the way that he would need to get you in the ring.
And it's not like he's in possession of any belts that you need, any belts that you want. You've got all the full-fledged titles. You've got all the championships, not him. So why waste time on him? If he's happy with a secondary title and his soft matchmaking...
Yeah, whatever, man. Whatever.
Whatever the fuck ever. Just do what you want. It's not like Shakur and Devin don't have options. They have options. Those kids ain't starving.
There are ample fights to make, ample opponents to go around.
They don't need Gervonta Davis.